guys, to the Gambling Guys. As you can see, we are not in the Cub content studio at the Pull Tab Sports Network, which we wish we were because we love that place. Brought to you by Cub. Unfortunately, like I said, we're not in the studio because it's much more comfortable, and Sal usually has some snacks for us. But now we're sitting here, David Casino and I, and we're on location in Colorado. We were hoping to come to you from the casino in Colorado, but yeah, we didn't check with them first. So we're gonna do it from my new location. Prop Bet Pete when we mentioned this in the past. I moved out to Colorado, or we bought a house in Colorado, so I'll be spending some time out here as well. So that brings up, David, a lot of good conversation today. One, we had our significant others. We've got a few stories there. We went to the casino yesterday. There are casinos in Colorado, obviously, and there's a pretty cool town up out west on I-70 that we went to and visited a casino. Two, David and I have been planning our sports betting future because MGM has obviously a sports bet app, and sports betting is legal in Colorado. One of the reasons why Prop Bet Pete moved to Colorado. I'm not sure.
Or this beautiful view right here.
We do have a view.
We were up in the mountains. We'll get to the Gambling Guys portion here really quick, or the gambling portion. So we tend to go up towards Breck and Leadville because we've got some connections to do some mountain biking, and then we did a little clothing shopping at Melanzana. A shout out to Melanzana out there in Leadville. Watched a little bit of the race, and then we were in Breck. And on Monday morning, I think it was, we were trying to determine what we were going to do. We had a little bit of time to kill. We went to a concert at Red Rocks on Monday night. And so we were in Breck, and we were thinking about what we're going to do. So the four of us, there's one of us that doesn't like to gamble. I'll give you a hint. It's not one of us. And Kim loves to gamble. Yes. And it was Erica, of all people, that said, why don't we go to the casino? So we pulled up our Google app and found out there are 14 casinos in the mountains between just kind of north of Idaho Springs, right?
That's right.
So if you're West Denver, so we picked the Horseshoe. There's so many there that you just kind of walk around like a Fremont kind of feel. And so the four of us decided we were going to go and kill some time. We didn't know what to expect. But as soon as we walked into the Horseshoe, we realized it's a Caesars property. So we've talked about this many times. You got to get your comps, right? And we know right away Caesars has the Horseshoe. And so Pete.
Yeah, what's interesting is of all the trips to Vegas that I've been on, we pretty much stick with MGM and their properties. And lots of folks have Caesars cards, especially because Caesars is such a popular casino in Las Vegas on the Strip. It's probably the first big casino.
Yeah.
I think we could argue that. And I had never got a player's card. And we preached, David, to
get your points.
Get your points. Take advantage of the player's card. They'll give you some free play. They'll give you points. They'll give you gifts, whatever that is. And I, believe it or not, had them look me up, and I had never had a Caesars card. So I got one, and Kim got one as well.
But here's we didn't talk about this at the pregame, but I need to say this. It's a little bit of age discrimination because you and Kim got the 50 and over bonus.
That's right.
And I said, what about the 47 and over? And they said, no. So that, you got to ask them some questions once in a while, and it pays to be over 50.
It does pay to be over 50.
You don't look a day over 30, my friend.
I think they figure, thank you. I think they figure that if they give you a little extra dough, you probably got a little extra dough in your pocket when you're 50 and you're willing to blow it. So there you go.
Or you're a little more senile and tend to spend a little bit more.
They're looking at it that way.
There's a couple of oxygen tanks and some bifocals in that casino, but it was super clean. We'll get to that in a second. So you guys got a card.
So we got a card, and Erica, David's fiance, was the one who said, hey, she doesn't have a lot of experience with gambling, which we've talked about this in past episodes. People who don't have a lot of experience in gambling, when you tend to do it responsibly, they have a great time. And I think Erica probably did, but let's get to the stories. So we got our card, and then what do? We went straight to a 5-reel, right?
So I had said, you've heard Kim and Pete love the 5-reels, and I'm actually getting more into the 5-reels. There's a lot of games inside of a game, and we went over to a Prosper 8, right? Or what's it called?
Prosperity 8.
Prosperity 8. And we were playing
this Dragon 5 reel.
Yeah.
4 was it? No, it's $3.42 a bet or something.
And the great thing is, we put in $100, and we're all four standing by the machine, and we would play Pete, then Kim, then me, then Erica, and we just went around the horn, and it was fun to just have some excitement, and it's a lot of fun when you win money too, right?
Right.
So the first machine, we get a bonus, and we got a bonus inside of a bonus, and another bonus inside. And it was funny, the three of us were trying to tell Erica, well, that symbol's only for this and for this, and we were trying to show it, but I think we wanted to come out here as the gambling guys and say, we found a bunch of casinos at the mountains of Colorado, and the four of us had a lot of fun. I think we made about $300 on the first machine, didn't we? Put in 100 and cash out 400.
We did. That's the thing is
Sal's looking it up right now. We can see him in the studio. He's Googling. He's trying to look at the horseshoe, and he's trying to see this. You got to be 21 though, Sal. You got to wait.
Oh, really? Is that a Colorado law? Different?
You know, we saw a sign. We wondered about that when we walked in. It said 21. Yep.
Okay.
This, I believe, is our episode 18. So when you're 18, we would normally say you can gamble, but not in Colorado.
Yeah.
So you got to be 21. A couple notes about what David said. One, very clean, non-smoking casino.
It's great.
Which, I think people who are just occasional gamblers tend to stay away from casinos because they're worried about them being smoky or dirty. Or this place was it was the Horseshoe, right? Is it
the Horseshoe, which is
Horseshoe.
Connected to Caesars, as we mentioned. Yep.
And it was clean. It was new. It was updated. It was light. It had high ceilings. Can't say enough about that Caesars property as far as just
if you're there or coming through, West Denver, take the trip. I mean, we asked Pete and Kim and said, how far from your house are you going to be visiting it pretty frequently? But like we said, there are a lot of small casinos, like a Fremont Field, and then three big ones, Ameristar, the Horseshoe.
Yep.
And
this is
right
in
there.
Center City, I believe, which is kind of halfway up the mountain as you're going up I-70 towards.
That's a beautiful drive. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
have you been there, Sal?
Yeah, I have. Years ago, we had a family reunion out in Colorado, and we took the drive up there, and it is from Denver. It's a beautiful drive up to there. Yeah.
Yeah, you just see a lot of the creeks, and you're through the mountains differently, and we just had I just had so much fun because it was very casual and entertaining for the $100. And of course, when you win, you guys, we're going to get to, we lost too, but so then we went to another machine because there's all these 5 reels to play.
That's right. That's right.
And we were kind of picking different machines.
And we're putting my card in because I'm the only one who had a card at that point.
Because he's the only one over 50 and he got the extra points.
Well, and I wanted the points, but they couldn't print Kim's card, so we're pretty much using my card exclusively, which is cool because I'm accumulating points at Caesars right away, which is nice. And I think one of our listeners mentioned to you, David, that we don't really emphasize that enough as far as what exactly some of these player points can get you, right? And I know you and I have both had experiences because we've spent a fair amount of time in Vegas and other casinos. Casinos are not afraid to offer you comps like a hotel room for a night or two, or dinners, or some free play. Like, it's not just gambling. So, and maybe you can talk a little bit, I know I can too, the fact that when we go to Vegas, Kim and I, a lot of times our rooms are comped. Like, they comp our hotel room, like, hey, you can stay here for free because they want you on property and they want you using their facilities and their casinos and their restaurants and bars. And that's important to them because they want a captive audience, and they don't want you to lose. In fact, one of the pit bosses, when we were playing, you can tell that story yesterday, said, because I made a comment, we were playing blackjack, Erica and David and I made a comment about, the guy behind, because the dealer was on a losing streak and we were winning, and I said out loud, as the pit boss behind our dealer was standing there overlooking her shoulder, I said, well, he wants us to lose, and he's like, nope, I want you to take us for as much as you can. So people want you, even the workers want you to win.
Yeah.
So can you guys touch on that a little bit for new people with comps and stuff? Do you have to wait for your comp to come in the mail or what? Or can you get comped on your day of play?
Yeah, casinos are different. So they gave Pete and Kim a double points or something, and then you went to swipe your card and hit the spin button. And Pete had a chance to win up to $100,000 in free play right then and there.
Yeah.
Wow.
He won 500 points. So it was like $5 in slot play. So you won right away. Usually, Sal, that's a great question for our listeners. When you get your card, there's a lot of kiosks everywhere in these casinos. and you can just swipe your kiosk, and then it'll kind of prompt you with food offering, free play. So free play is typically in a machine where you put it in, and if it's $20, you have to put in 20 to get the 20. Okay.
Yep.
And then a lot of times there's table play, and you can select. So you could select it, and then either at the craps or blackjack or roulette table, they would give it to you. So use that card at the swipe kiosk machine like we did,
right,
to get that. I'm going to go off on a tangent real quick because we talked about comps. So Eric and I were just in Vegas, and we were there, and we booked with our players person, because there's a specialist there that gives you, so there's different tiers, right? Sal, like you said.
Yeah.
So she reached out and said, I'm your specialist, right? I'm not your host. I don't spend enough money there yet, but I'm your specialist. And I said, hey, can you book us for November? Because we're going to come out for a basketball game. She responded and she said, yep, I'm working on booking your free rooms at Cosmo, but we've just raised the rate on the play rate on transportation, and you didn't play enough last time to get transportation. So even in cases, and I said, fine, I'll take a $10 lift. Like, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Right. But I think once you get in, I think then you start to know the food offerings and the gambling offerings.
Well, and I think it's important to point out that people think that just because they're not high rollers, or that they can never get the benefits of players' points. But you can get benefits of player points, even if it's them buying you a cup of coffee. If you're gambling in a casino and you're going to put $100 in or $50 or whatever, just make sure you've got a players, because they send you promotions whether you're gambling or not. They want to entice you to come back. They want to, when you're there, they want to make you as happy as they can. So they'll buy you a cup of coffee by giving you comp dollars, and you can go over to whatever coffee shop, whether it's Starbucks or whatever within that casino, and use your comp dollars to buy a cup of coffee. Or sometimes you can buy more, like in David, in my case, you can get much more, but that's because we tend to risk more, right? And but
so is that is that the key? It's based on how much you wager as opposed to how much you're spending or lose?
It's actually based upon losses. So it's and I think casinos can vary, but if you do a lot of the research, you'll find out that it's 20 to 30% of the comp offerings are based upon your losses. Now, there's a lot though in Minnesota casinos, right? Like if you look at,
sorry guys, this is part of Colorado, right here.
There's a small tiger
yeah, there was a comment there that I'm gonna leave alone.
There's a great joke in there, but we're not going there. Yeah.
But like what I love about the Grand Casinos, Hinckley and Mille Lacs and Mystic in particular, they send a lot of flyers on a weekly basis, and they give away gifts. They're just giving away purses now, and so you'll get those mailings. And I bet within a week you're going to get a Caesars mailing to this property based upon our trip yesterday.
I think so. I had to register. I still have my Minnesota license, so they'll probably send it back to Minnesota. Yeah. But they'll find you. Nowadays, they find you anywhere. And like I said, and like David said, you don't have to be a big high roller. Especially if it's your first time, there's a lot of first time bonuses. And David pointed that out earlier. I had never been a Caesars member. There was 3 or 4 different first time opportunities that I had that they were like, hey, we want to entice this guy to maybe put a few dollars into a slot machine. So we'll give him $20 in free play, or we'll give him an extra 5 times his points. And points accumulate relatively quickly. And Sal, in answer to your question a little bit too, is when you're playing slots and you're getting a line pay that's, let's say you're betting $1.50 and you get a line pay that's $1.50. Well, you're going to keep pushing that button. That counts. That money that you won that you continue to use as gambling, it's not just the $20 you put in, it's the line pays you get paid, and then you keep pushing, because the time is money for them. They want you at the machine for longer.
So what's the highest payout as far as comps? What do you have to play?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. What do you think?
Is it machines, or is it table games, or machines?
I think it's machines, don't you?
Well, I think so. Say the question one more time, Sal. So
what's the best bet? What games or style of games is the best for your comp rewards?
You should do some research on it. I think, in blackjack, there's a pit boss that comes over and enters your play and how long. So maybe they forget for 30 minutes and you're already gone, and that's probably a good bet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
there's more human element to the table
But
games,
you know,
right?
if you're playing a 5 reel, and like Pete said, you just keep hitting the button. You could hit the button probably 20 times more than you can playing video poker, right?
Right.
Because you're just hitting the button. And I think like Pete's 100% right. The amount of money is all related to your points, and then the comp offering is based upon your losses, right? A percentage of your losses. We'll do some research on that. We've got another email that was out there that said we should do a little bit more on the comps. So when you get an offering and we talk about MGM and Caesars, we'll come back to that. That's really good.
You know, one of the things I'm going to miss in Colorado, David, is Cub Foods. And we were thankful for their sponsorship, and I know you use them, and hopefully you'll use them double the amount that I will. But my kids use them back in Minnesota. Cub is a wonderful store. I've been to several grocery stores out here in Colorado, and there's no comparison. One, the service. Two, the ability to online order and curbside pickup. Three, the selections. I mean, their produce, their meats, everything. So I miss you, Cub. I thank you for your sponsorship. And David's still he's gonna buy extra because I'm not in town.
You know, you need to get one of those big coolers, and when you're back for the final load, you can just load up what you need and come over in the 13-hour drive.
Yeah, and if anybody out there at Cub is listening, why don't you come out to Colorado, because I will be your top shopper.
There you go.
I guarantee you that.
Well, like Pete said, we wouldn't be here without him. And Sal, big shout out for us doing this remote. Thanks for coming in this morning.
Yeah, no worries. This is fun.
So we had a lot of fun. The other part of the four of us all together, it was so much fun. We played a bunch of different 5 reels. Want to tell the story of Erica was just immersed in the fun of the entertainment of it.
Yeah.
But was kind of watching like why did we just win $1.20, or why was that one $10? And Pete actually hit the see help. And then and we've talked about this before, but take some time to do it, because I hadn't seen, when you're playing 5 reels, you know, it's in a row, but then it can go up and diagonal. And if you're playing a lot of lines, there's actually a huge graph in there.
Yeah.
Or a matrix, right, that shows the payout. And it was kind of cool. You showed her, and she's like, oh, so now we just got to get the symbols in every 5 of the reels to pay out.
Right.
Yeah, so what you might imagine on 5 reels is they've advanced so much as far as the graphics, because they're trying to attract the younger generation who love, you know, the video game generation. So they're making a lot of animations. It's no longer just the reels, right? It's different bonuses, it's different payouts, it's multiple different ways to line pay you. And in order to understand that stuff, sometimes you need an advanced college degree, right? Like, it's crazy. And so on every 5 reel, especially the video screen ones, there's a help button or a game information button that you can push, and that will run you through. If you could spend 10 or 15 minutes reading it. Yeah. We don't, but you could. And what you can do is you can scroll through the screens, and you can get to the bonus areas of that game. And it'll show you, like with Erica, which was cool because, you know, you and I could probably spend more time looking at those when we're playing 5 reels as well. We really could tell where you get paid across the screen when you hit the button, and what those denominations are. And really informative and fun if you want to study it a little bit. Like I said, I mean, you could put $20 into a machine, sit there and study for 20 minutes and play your $20 for 5 minutes, right?
We were playing a Buffalo game, and some of them you need 6 orbs with the dollars in it, and some of them you need 8. And we were playing an 8, and Erica pushed the button and got 8. And the 3 of us got excited because we saw one of the orbs was $125, right? So she didn't kind of know yet. But here's the really cool thing, and this is so close to being just an epic story. So she was the one that pushed the button, so we let her play the bonus. And we were calculating like, oh, we're already up to $250.
Yeah.
And if you guys play the Buffalo, once you hit an orb, you get the 3 new spins. And if you get all 25, you win the grand, which was $13,000.
Yeah.
We got 3 left. She hit it. 2 left. 1 left. And I looked at Pete, and I'm like, I don't ever want to beg for gambling, right? Like, we're here the gambling guys. This is just entertainment. But I was kind of begging a little bit, like, if there happens to be a higher power on this would be epic if you could fill this up. Because she was filming as she was pushing the button. We ended up winning, I think, we did pretty good on that. But it was just a really fun entertainment if you're out with a couple or 2 or some friends to just kind of 4-way. Sal, have you ever played it that way with friends?
No, not no. And typically, I just play by myself, or I stand over somebody and watch them because like I said, I'm a people watcher when I go to the casino
That's
more
right.
than a player. But I do play. I mean, and part of the whole slot machine thing is or the real games is you get kind of confused sometimes because you see like all these buffalo and they're like, oh, that should be something, and it's nothing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
because they're not in the diagonal or the zigzag or whatever, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that it's kind of a little deterrent sometimes, and I can see how it would be deterrent for somebody that's new to gambling and looking like, okay, this something's broken here because they're just cheating me. I should have won something, but no, I mean they're playing odds in both ways, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's something that's not confusing is the game of golf. Now it's hard as hell,
Right.
but it's not confusing. But one of our new sponsors makes it a heck of a lot easier, and that's the Grint. We were just pulling up the website, and they're actually featured in CNN, Golf Digest, and the Golf Magazine. We've talked about them before, but the Grint is the best way to upload your scores. You can track as you play, use your scorecard picture service. There's a GPS in there. Take a look at the videos that they've got out on their app right there, and there's a lot part of Pull Tab Sports. They're doing a lot of different videos there. So without them, we couldn't be here, and they make the game of golf a lot more fun. And
well, one of the things you can do with Grant too, I think you mentioned it last podcast, Sal, was when you're out there playing, your friends and your buddies can get live updates of what you're doing.
that's right,
Right.
birdie or double.
Right.
So I got a story for you guys. The last time we recorded and we were in studio, my kid was blowing my phone up.
Who was playing?
Cole.
Okay.
And I didn't answer it, and I said, I'm on the air. And he texts me back, you should have picked up your phone. He got a hole-in-one.
Oh.
He got a hole-in-one, and the first person he texted was his Grint buddy, one of our other co-creators, the Vikes Verified, Nick Eliason. And he texted Nick. He goes, "That's why you need to be on the Grint because it would have just blasted it to everybody." And so now they're both on the Grint, and they trying to form a little community with all their buddies.
Glowing recommendation.
Yeah.
Could be dangerous if you get a hole in one and you're on Grant and you got like 50 buddies. You get to the end of your round and there's 50 buddies waiting for you.
Yeah, right. And it was fun for him. He told me the whole story. He got one of his buddies was working at the golf course, and he was in the bunker raking the bunker, and two of his other buddies were mowing the tee box on the next hole, and they all saw it. So
that's so great.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That's great.
I tell you what, the one and only hole in one I got, which involves Stoli, surprising.
Aiming oil.
I ended up buying a lot of people a lot of Stolies, which, by the way, they have a lot of flavors and it's a great vodka. But I remember word had traveled at the club I was at by the time, and this was a club I belonged to in Minneapolis, so I was friends with a lot of the guys. By the time I got done, I'll never forget, there was probably 25 guys because it was like a Thursday afternoon before men's night, and they were all sitting there just waiting. Like, hey, where's the vodka?
Yeah.
So we shared a lot of Stolies that night. That was a good time. So if you're out there, buy some Stoli. We saw Stoli.
We were at a tequila bar in downtown Breck, and we went for a drink after dinner before we were the last drink of the night kind of deal. Yeah. And the four of us were sitting at the bar, and there were 4 flavors of Stoli.
Yeah.
Sitting right in front, and we said, we're going to mention it in a couple days when we're on the podcast. Thanks again for being
Stoli's everywhere. I mean, it's
even in a tequila bar in Breck.
A tequila bar with 4 bottles. I think, what was it? Was it raspberry or
vanilla, blueberry, and regular? Right? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tried last night. We had another guest on, local celebrity meteorologist that just retired, on another podcast, and we had a little pregame before, and we did the Diet Coke and the vanilla Stoli.
Yes.
Oh, game changer. Game changer.
Did you sleep at the studio last night?
Yeah, right. Yeah. I was out. I was here late and here early.
I've heard a lot of stories of people who love that drink in particular, Stoli vodka and vanilla flavored vodka and Diet Coke.
Yeah.
What's it taste like? Is it kind of, I have not had one. Is it kind of like a little float or something?
Yeah, it tastes like a root beer kind of type. It just changes the flavor a little bit, and you get
Yeah.
Get a little taste in there.
Solid.
Like it.
Yeah.
Solid.
So Pete and I this morning before this, we went and got some coffee for us and our lovelies, and we're chatting about what we want to talk about. And I said, well, we got to talk about blackjack because Pete had mentioned it. So we decided Kim wanted to go play some additional slots, and then the three of us, plus there was only really 3 spots at this table. They had a 15 and a 10. So we decided to just go to the $10 minimum table. And we sat down, we each cashed in for $100.
Yep.
And we were going to pool our money between the 3 of us at least, right?
So
And
it's David, I, and Erica.
yep, and we've mentioned before, and Erica doesn't play much blackjack. We mentioned before, you at least have to have 10 units as your starting investment to sit down at blackjack, right? So the $100, we're going to play at a $10 table. And I've played before with Erica in Vegas where she just, anything above $50 gets a little uncomfortable for her. And I want you to talk about, because you said this to me having coffee this morning to our listeners. But I said, that's fine, but then you at least have to keep progressing up when you win and stay at 1 when you lose. That's like the biggest key, right, Sal? Like,
right. I tried explaining this to my son last night.
Okay,
the
blackjack
1-2-3-5, right?
is like basketball. It's a game of streaks. So lose 10 in a row at a 1 unit bet and you lose $100, right? Win 10 in a row. If you go 1, 2, 3, 5, you're going to make money. And you just kind of wait for those big hands. I'm going to turn it over to you in a second. We were playing and it was a lot of fun with the social aspect of it. And I think we had a good amount of bet. Like I think Erica was at her 5 unit, I was at my 3, and you were at a 5 as well.
I was at a 5.
And I just said, this is one of the hands where it either makes or breaks you.
Yeah.
Like you're waiting an hour or so to have a hand like this.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, we lost it. But we still had enough units to just go back to 1, and we started building it up again. Right.
So when I was at 5 and you were at 3 and Erica was at 5, that meant that all of us had gone on a little bit of a winning streak.
Couple in a row, 3 in a row, yeah.
And so throughout this session, we started in. David and Erica were to my right, and I was kind of on third base. And I slid over an extra shoe because I was superstitious that the little spot that I was playing at next to David was not good luck because I was losing. And so, you have those little idiosyncrasies, those little, superstitions. So I moved over a spot. So there was a spot in between David and I, and it was only the 3 of us at the table. And more people showed up. And so we were kind of boxed in. There was a guy to my left at third base now, and there was a guy between David and I, and there was a gentleman at the front side at first base. And so, but at the beginning of it, we had a different dealer, and I was kind of losing, and you guys were holding your own. Like I was down to about $40 or $30 or something. And then we got to that point where all of a sudden the shoe turned in our direction, the dealer, and we started winning, right?
But tell the people, like you told me this morning that you don't typically go 1, 2, 3, 5. Sometimes you go 1, 2, 3, 4. Because
Right. Because we were talking to Erica about this, and Erica's new to blackjack, and she likes blackjack because she likes not knowing that there's a predetermined outcome, right? Like she likes knowing that there is, you may have decisions to make, and there is a game of chance there. That's what she told me yesterday. And we were talking about the betting, and she said she's very uncomfortable with the 1, 2, 3, 5. Like getting that 5 times your bet out there made her nervous.
A stack of even 50 beds is this big.
Yeah.
So it's a little intimidating visually to see something like that, right?
Sure.
Right, exactly. And I shared with her that this 1, 2, 3, 5 method is new to me as well. Like you just introduced it to me about a year ago when I had never played a lot of blackjack. I've played enough blackjack, but as I was always playing table minimums, and so it's still uncomfortable for me. Like when I get up to that 5 bet, I'm like, I have this hesitation, this anxiety. Like, do I really want to bet 5 times what I've just built up this stack? Why do I want to give it back? But like you said, it's such a streaky game. And you shared those statistics with us. I think it was probably 5 or 6 episodes ago about, there's like a 4% chance or 5% chance
winning 7 in a row,
or the dealer winning 7 in a row. And we had already gone through the dealer winning 7 in a row. Not that we were due, but we had gone through that and made it through that stage. And so then we got to that 5-3-5 and we lost. And I was like, oh, this was the run. And you even said it. You were like, that was the one hand we were waiting for.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we're going to get an opportunity for another run.
Right. So one episode, we need to break this down because I think it's very interesting. And I think we need to show some sort of graph on let's just say you lose, you like let's the one unit, the $10 unit, and you lose, you win, you win. What's the difference in? Because then when you win and you win, you're still only losing that one $10 unit, right? And that's what people don't understand, right? Because everything else is just bonus, extra, and
Exactly. At dinner last night, Pete said that's what they want you to do is never change your bet and just sit there over time.
yeah,
Because eventually over time their odds get better over time.
right.
Right?
Where people like if you win, if you lose, you lose, you lose. That's $30, and then you win and you win, and that's 20. That's 50. So you're up 50, right?
But you got 30 on the line.
But you got 30 on the line, so you've made
Yeah.
$20. Where people kind of look like, oh, I just lost $50. Well, no, you didn't. You just lost $10, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as that increment builds up, you're not. So if you go from 10 to 20 to 30,
Yeah.
by the time you get to 30, you haven't won 10 and 20 because you're putting some of that back into your investment.
Right.
But if you go on a 7-card run, like David said, you get to the 5 mark, you're 5 times your bet. And as David was talking about, we'll mention this as well. You can still go up or you can stay at 50. And
Yeah.
if you go on a seven hand run, there's 3 or 4 hands there where you're $50 a shot. You're making it.
You're pulling 5 units back every win.
Every
right?
win, yeah.
Every win, right?
You're
I
right.
did look at once though, and this is where you said you don't feel as comfortable or you think more about it. Where I'm like, you should go to infinity.
Yeah.
Like Pete, you're on a roll. Like bet 100 or something. Like it's just because it was a swing. One thing I want to mention that came up is because there was a shift change. The dealer changed in between. And not many casinos do this where the dealer carries their tips with them.
Oh, really?
Yes. So at this Caesars property,
Yeah.
the lady was coming and she had the plexiglass clear container with. And Eric even said, "What's that?" And I said, "Well, they must keep their own tips." So the lady before was also a female dealer and probably one, what was her name?
Ann.
Look at him. He's so personable. He knows her name.
What was her real name? What name did you give her, Pete? One Tooth Ann.
I'm just glad Ann turned cold at one point.
Yeah.
She was hot when she first showed up, and I mean that in a dealing way.
But if there's like in blackjack, I think we're the most. That's probably the best advice we can give to people is stay at one unit, bet the unit you need,
Yeah.
that you're comfortable with, and
Yep.
then go 1, 2, 3, 5. The other thing I want to throw out there is this: when you get to a 5-unit bet, I think it's good protocol to tip the dealer.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
And that way you get them in the action. And so what we were doing at a couple of different times, we had $5 or $1 or $2 set out front of our 5-unit bet. So I looked over, Pete had 5, we had I think 2 each. That's just a good way, especially if the deal. So number one, the dealers are going to split it no matter what.
Right.
But like the lady that came over the shift change, she probably made $40, if not more,
in about 10 minutes.
20 minutes or something,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's $40 in 20 minutes. So they're at least rooting for you. They're not changing the cards. It just feels different.
Sure.
So I wanted to tell that to our listeners. But Sal, so you tip as well when you're playing blackjack?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's just like you said, you kind of want that little bit of moral support from them, thinking like, okay, I want this guy to win. He's help. The more he wins, the longer he's going to stick around, the more he's going to tip me. So they like you're right. They are cheering for you and they want you to win.
They root for you too. I had a 7 and an ace, soft 18 against the dealer's 8.
Right.
And I was trying to think about that in the grid of the book. I know probably 99%, but this is one of the hands where I was like, do I just take the push, like assume the push? And I said to her, I go, what's the book? And she goes, the book says stay. I'm like, well, then I'm going to stay.
Yeah.
So like, then they can kind of help you out a bit.
Yep.
The other thing is too.
You ever walk away from not a cold dealer, but just an impersonable dealer? Like, okay, this isn't fun.
Back in one of our episodes around 10 in Vegas. Remember we walked into
Fontainebleau.
Fontainebleau.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, she said you're surrendering or whatever, and I'm like, well, I don't know about surrendering, but I'm leaving.
Yeah.
One of the things that was interesting about this session, it was a couple things. Was one, Erica hadn't played a lot of blackjack, which is really fun to watch because the dealer helps, and if you have someone with you that helps, it's a lot more fun. Like you could tell she was having fun because she felt like she had backup. Like there was people who were going to help her make a decision if she didn't quite know what her decision was. And Eric is incredibly intelligent, so she picked it up right away and understood it. But there's a lot of scenarios in blackjack where you got to make a decision that, do I hit on a 13 when the dealer's showing a 4? No, but you wouldn't know that if you hadn't, either asked someone or been playing or read a book on it. So
Right.
That was fun. The other thing we did, and I'm not sure David Casino was happy with me here, but we went on a little bit of a streak then when the new dealer showed up. Gwen, her name was Gwen, by the way.
Look at him. He's like so personal. So you should be called Blackjack Pete or something. I don't know.
So Gwen shows up and we go on this run, and I go from having about $40 left, down 60, to, as far as I can tell, I'm up to about $300, right? And so I had put in my initial bet of 100 in, and I'm like, you know what? I'm on a hot streak right now. When I lose this 5 stack, I'm out. And I don't think you were thinking, let's just keep riding this thing. Maybe I can't tell you what you're thinking, but you looked at me when I said, can I color up? When the shoe was done, I said, can I color up? Which means taking your stack of chips and making them bigger denominations so you can walk away and just go to the cashier and have like 2 100s or 3 100s. Or
right. Right.
And you looked at me like, are you not, what are you doing? And,
right.
And because I had looked down the row at them and they were up a bunch and I was up a bunch, and I'm like, there's 3 of us here. One of us at this point needs to take their chips and get our initial investment back because we were $300 in.
Yeah.
And so when I cashed out, it was $270, and David made a good point. He's like, hey, we got a bunch of 25s here. We'll color up. We'll give you those chips. You give us the $70. Well, we ended up having $600
on the first
cash out. And so I walked away with $600 and $100 chips. I went straight.
I haven't seen him since. He took off. I don't know where the hell he went. Came back with 220s. He said there was a wrong color chips.
Yeah, well, and a Senti coffee.
He's like calling my phone, and I'm hiding. No, and literally, that's a lesson. Long story short, that's a lesson in sometimes you have to walk away. And I know David at the end was like, that was the right call, because I walked back to him. They were still playing and winning a little bit with the house's money, and I handed him $200 for each, him and Erica, which means we were each up $100 at that point, whether they lost everything they were with or not. And you ended up taking that money and turning it into another $200, right?
I think you got to set floors often, right? So like Pete just said, he bought in for 100. He was at 260, 270. Here's what I would have said, though, honestly, Pete. I would have done exactly what you did and colored up and left 200 and 2 black chips and played that 60 or 70 for a hand or 2. Yep. But who's to say, I mean, we won, right? And you walked away, and then we played, we cashed in another 200. I mean, for 3 people to sit down with $300 and cash out 800, and Eric and I lost probably 150 in the last shoe. So, I mean, we were close to 1,000 in 3 shoes, I guess. I think not 3 decks, 3 shoes. It was like 30 minutes. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So going back just a minute. So if you're in 300, and that's what you're going back to your point before, is that's what you're willing to lose.
Yeah.
Why not just gamble it and if you're willing to lose it, just keep playing. If you're winning, I mean, I
think we wanted to have dinner paid for and the concert ticket. Like we were thinking we could pay. That's a good question. Maybe we ask the listeners like the different types of personality but then is it important then, Sal, to set a ceiling?
Yeah.
So right. So like if you put in for 300, would you have said at 900 we're going to cash out, or do you just don't want any kind of
Yeah, I don't. I guess I'm not sure if I would just take my initial 300 out and just keep playing the winnings because you still have that 300, and if you win with your winnings, you're playing with their money, and it's just even more you're getting from them. But if not, you still have the 300 that you're willing to lose, and you can come back. But hopefully,
I think that's a great strategy as well. There isn't a wrong strategy. I just thought like, okay, if they're up 400 and I'm up a couple hundred, we already doubled our money.
Yeah.
And then I handed the 70 in chips, I think, to you, or 60 in chips to you, and kept my 200, and you gave me 400 back of your money because you guys were up. And I'm of that, and David knows this. I like to book a win.
Sure.
I always like to book a win. Like I want the W. I don't want the tie. I don't want the ball.
I'm just asking for the other side. I normally, once I double my money, I'm done, whether I'm on a hot streak or not. If I'm playing $200 and I'm up to $400, then I'm out. I've
That's
doubled
smart.
my money and I'm getting out. I could continue to play and hopefully win, but right now I'm a winner.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I think that's important to set the ceilings and the floors and to talk about it. One other thing is Eric is getting new to blackjack in particular is to organize your chips so you have an idea where you're at. Because it's fairly fast, right? And you can have some reds and whites and greens and blacks, right? And so I think that's one thing that I was trying to tell her is like stack this over. That's your 100. That's your initial investment. Leave that there. You've got all these other chips. Stack, like play there. So maybe to that point, Sal, like for blackjack for our listeners, get a system, be consistent, right?
Yeah.
Never chase the money, always bet one, right? And kind of keep an idea where you're at, floor and ceiling. And I wasn't mad at you at all. I was a little shocked. I was like, oh, I was going to say you're quitting. No, he booked a win. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. That's how I play. I was just asking for, what's the difference?
One of the things you learn about when especially when you play with a buddy a lot or you go to the casino a lot together, is you kind of learn each other's tendencies. And with David, he and I have just obviously different personalities, and he's got more experience over decades gambling than I do, but I feel like we've got a good mix, because I am that type that's like, okay, I want to take this, and he likes to push. He likes to push the gas pedal a little bit. And I mentioned that story when we went to Vegas about we were all pooled together with blackjack, and I would have quit when we were still down 600, and we ended up winning money because we pushed the gas pedal a little bit. So there's give and take to all that stuff. I mean, you can lose more by pushing the gas pedal, but you can certainly chase back and get to a point. And we've done that on several occasions. So it's all about how, there's no wrong answer. It's just, I'm sure that we could, in fact, in a future episode, we should try to find, one of these statistics folks and spend some time with them on, gambling statistics and what some of the scenarios are where you,
I like Sal, your idea too about I've got a 6-deck shoe and a felt, and we can have chips and bet differently, right? Like if this person just bets table minimum, and this guy does the Nightingale approach, which is reverse progress. Like let's do that next time. Or one of those next times, because I feel like blackjack have enough listeners that we get some people to listen on.
Yeah.
So I think that's it. And just for the listeners, we're going to start, obviously get back to some different topics as well. We've, it's been a pretty busy summer, so we've really loved our casino visits and passionate about talking about them. But we're going to get more into that in the fall, into more technical based stuff around casinos and then sports betting as well, because now I'm in Colorado, and David Casino and I have already decided that we're going to set up our bank for here so that we can do some sports gambling.
We did?
Yeah, we did. You're going to Venmo me $700. So
did you see the look on my face?
Yes.
Yeah. Set up a bank account. Okay, as long as it's with your name on it, we're in good shape.
All I saw was the bubble was, am I losing money?
Yeah, he's like, what's happening? He's like, well, how can he prove to me that he made the bet? Because he's going to make the bets and keep the money.
Yeah. So you got some different opportunities there in Colorado, right? You can do a little bit more sports betting and prop bets.
And I would be remiss if I didn't talk about Custom One Homes, because we did buy a house out here, and it's relatively new built. And I'll tell you, folks, there's nothing like walking into a newer home that's been built. And Custom One Homes in Minnesota, they build custom homes. They'll take you from the start of the process to the end of the process. They're on the Parade of Homes, the Artisan Home Tour, and they're at customhomesmn.com. One of the important things that David and I always say is they give back to the community. For the life of me, I can't remember what charity of their choice or cause of their choice, but I think it's something to do with children, if I'm not mistaken, but they do give back, and that's important to us with our sponsors. So we thank them for their sponsorship. And I'll tell you, walking into a newer home, there's nothing like it. And we didn't build this house, but it's recently built, and it's a different feeling. So give them a call or get on their website, customhomesmn.com. So
love it. Nicely done.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Well, this was a fun trip coming to see you guys. And if you're out in Colorado, take a look up in the mountains up there. There's a whole bunch of casinos. And I think the big thing is, remember when you're playing blackjack, right? Find a table you feel comfortable with, and then do your unit betting. 1, 2, 3, 5. Stay at ones when you keep losing.
Infinity if you want to.
Infinity if you want to. Sal, thanks for making this happen, and thanks for all of our listeners and viewers.